As we observe the 25th anniversary of the World Summit for Social Development and the adoption of the Copenhagen Declaration on Social Development and Programme of Action, we should also recall the Declaration's significant number of references to the issues that Indigenous peoples still continue to face around the world. 12 years before Indigenous peoples' rights were affirmed in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the 1995 Declaration recognized and supported Indigenous peoples' pursuit of economic and social development. In fact, one of the principles and goals for further action is to recognize and support Indigenous peoples in their pursuit of economic and social development, with full respect for their identity, traditions, forms of social organization, and cultural values. The voices of Indigenous women were also echoed in the Copenhagen Declaration, as it voiced support for their empowerment and inclusion, which was thereafter further reflected in the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action of the Fourth World Conference on Women, which is also celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. The traditional rights to land of Indigenous peoples, as well as the need to effectively promote traditional Indigenous knowledge systems, were also acknowledged. Further, with the migration of more and more Indigenous peoples to urban areas, securing their safe transition and their full participation in the labor market, as well as equal access to employment opportunities, were also noted. In its numerous references to Indigenous peoples, the 1995 Copenhagen Declaration also underlined the importance of Indigenous languages to the survival and well-being of Indigenous peoples, placing an emphasis on full respect for Indigenous peoples' cultures, traditions, and languages. 24 years later, the United Nations observed 2019 as the International Year of Indigenous Languages, and the General Assembly has recently adopted the resolution on the decade of Indigenous language starting in 2022. On this 25th anniversary of the World Summit for Social Development, I urge you to recall the instrumental support provided by the Declaration and Programme of Action for the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. In that vein, I encourage you to continue to advocate for Indigenous peoples within the Commission for Social Development and beyond, being mindful of their unique possibilities and challenges in striving for their full participation and equal access in all spheres of social development. Thank you.